Facebook Live. I didn't think I'd get to do one this week, but I've managed to get back to iHub today, and tomorrow I'm going back to Peterborough, and I'm going to do another show in my signature collection and another show with the Christmas kit that we've got. Do you know what? I can't believe how busy it has been this week. It's been crazy. It's like everybody in the world has started crafting and is actually making cards and projects. And really the one big thing that this week I've mentioned lots of times is, for anyone who's just started crafting, if you've made something, and whether you've knitted a jumper or you've made a quilt, even if you've just taken a pair of trousers up but you're not used to normally doing things like that, made a few cards, done a bit of cross stitch, this year has to be about making cards for everybody. And the one thing that I am pledging is I am going to make Christmas cards for everybody that I know. And I did this last year, and I actually said that if anybody wanted to send in a stamped addressed envelope, I will send a Christmas card to whoever the envelope is addressed to. So you address the envelope and put the details on it, and then I will send a Christmas card, and you can tell me what messages you want in there and I'll do all of that for you. I just want to try and give a little bit back. So anyway, the first thing is, before we get started, I've got no mascara on today because last week you never told me. I did the rest of my Facebook Live with black eyes. I mean, my gosh, it wasn't until my dad said, "Did you know you'd got black eyes?" And I was like, well, I wasn't surprised. Nobody told me. You let me carry on like that. But I want to show you this. So this was done by Simon, who is one of the directors at Papercraft. And I came off air, having done my launch. He gave me this. So the snowman's got a carrot. The other one has got here. So we've got a little one, and it says, "Nope, I smell chipolatas." And then look at this one. That's a whacking great big sausage. So I am going to get this made into a piece of charisma, and I'm going to get this, and I'm going to do it as a decoupage sheet so that you can cut them out or do it as a topper or something. I'm going to do it as a free download, so I need to redraw it and colour it for you. But it just made me laugh, because I am definitely going to build snowmen with sausages for noses and get them film the dog eating the nose, because I think that'll be brilliant. So, huge thank you to everybody who is watching these shows every week. And I want to show you, I said I'd give you a little sneaky peek of the decorative painting that I'm going to be doing. So I'm using Cadence paints, and it's interesting because you need a paint with a lot of pigment in it. Now this one, which is their multi-surface paint, is amazing because it does go on literally any surface. So this is what I'm going to be teaching you to do. So I'm going to be showing you how to do this decorative painting. I put some of the paint out, it was at the beginning of the week, and I've left it there to dry as a blob because I'm actually doing some tests on it to see what it's like, and then I'm going to see if I can regenerate it with some water. But for anybody that's not seen this before, I'm just going to do a quick tiny little bit now to give you a taste of what I'm going to teach you. So I'm putting 2 little blobs of paint out, and I'm not going to get into lots of detail on it now because I'll do that when we get started properly. But I've got a flat bristled brush and just releasing the bristles. When you get these, and this is the kind of thing I'll be telling you, often you feel them and you know they feel crunchy on the end. They put size in them to actually make sure that the chisel edge stays together, and the chisel edge is this part along the end where all the bristles come together. But I'll talk a lot more about that. So I'm just going to pick up 2 colours, and this is what we call loading the brush, and you work it backwards and forwards as if you're mopping the floor. So this is like, you know, mop, mop, sweep, sweep. This is, I used to do a lot of this when I had puppies, mopping floors. And you literally, you blend it so that you've got two colours on your brush. So I'm just going to pick up a bit more, and I'll describe with you when we do this between us, and I'm actually teaching you what I'm actually doing. But I am just laying down the colour, and I'm wiggling my brush as I go along. And you know, it's really interesting because I haven't done any painting for a long time, months. And I picked the brush up last week and I was like, oh, I'm so happy that we're going to do this as a Facebook Live, because I feel like I'm actually doing something that I really love. So I'm just putting in the centre of the flower. I'm just going to go in and put another line in there and then run round, do a little comma stroke, both directions, and one there. So there we go. That's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to show you how to do that step by step. And over the weeks, I'm going to teach you leaves and different kinds of flowers. And I think when I apply what I've been learning from gardening, I think I might be doing a better job than I've done in the past. So that's going to be really, really interesting, because I know more about the composition of the flowers. So that helps massively. So right now, I thought what I would do is I'm going to show you a couple of ideas with my signature collection. We've still got a little bit of stock left, but it's on extended, I think. But you know, those 42-minute shows just go so quick. And this is really interesting. You know, when you're the guest and you think, oh, I wish that presenter would shut up. And then I'm thinking, I'm the presenter doing that. So, it's been a bit of an eye-opener this week, I'll tell you. So, I've got in here, and I've got a brand new kit, and this was another reason I wanted to come into work. Look at this. I've got all of these beautiful designs. So you get 2 sheets of the decoupage. So that's the first one, and this is the second one. And, no, they're both the same. This is the second one. So you get 2 different designs, but you get 4 of each sheet. Now, one of the things that I think is going to be really important going forward, and one of the things I plan to do for you this year, what's left of this year, is I really want to challenge the process that this is done. And one of the shows, I haven't got one in here, but one of the shows that I do for you, I'm going to bring you a cutting form and show you how these are manufactured, because it's really exciting. And you've got these big wooden blocks with a piece of steel in them, and it's the straight blade steel. It's all exposed, so you have to be careful handling them. But when they put the steel in, it's actually hammered in. And so to get really close with this is a real challenge. But with everything that we're doing, I'm like saying to them, I need you to do it tighter. I need us to get more flowers in, because I want more value for money for you. And then with this would normally be the topper. So this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, and then the sentiments. But what I've had them do is this piece in the middle here, which would normally be the waist, I've had that make that into a border for you. So you're getting even more value. So I've added in those borders as well. And we've got, these are beautifully foiled, which I think looks great. Then on here, we've actually got, again, got the foiling, and although it's silver, it looks almost like purpley when the light catches it, which is really, really pretty. And you get another 4 sheets of that one. And then this is one of my favourites, because it's got all the family on here. And again, we're actually making sure that we've got as much around and they're as tight and close together as we could possibly get them. So there's not much space in these. I'm just going to put that to one side, because I'm going to show you how to make that into a box in a minute. And then I've got the penguins, and then we've got all of these backgrounds. So that's the first one. Then you get this one. Then we get the bears. Then you've got the stockings. And you'll notice that your stockings go in both directions. Did that on purpose as well, because so often, if everything is in one direction, it actually limits how you can cut into it. Then the snowflakes. Then, of course, these beautiful, beautiful reindeers and my snowmen. So, first of all, I'm going to show you a quick way of creating a box. So, I'll put these out of the way for a moment. but I need my snowmen, so I need them. Right, so I've got, I've got the company crop, the caterpillar. I've nabbed it. I have ordered one of these this week, but oh my gosh, this is a brilliant machine. So you know it's got little lights on the side, they're amazing. You know it's got an arm extension. I'm going to need to use the arm extension because I want to show you how to do this. So I've got 2 pieces of card and I'm going to switch my scoreboard. I'm going to need that in a minute. Right, so I've got 2 pieces of card and I'm going to make a 6-inch box, which means I need an 8-inch square. So I've got, it's 8 and a smidge. So I'm going to just take off the smidge with my crop. Just get that, and I let that move the tiniest little bit. So I'm just going to take that little smidge off. And then I come round here, oops, and I'm going to take that. So I'm cutting 2 of these at once. Okay, so I've got 2 identical squares. Now, this is why you need this machine. So I'm going to take off here, off one of the squares, literally about 1.5 millimeters. And this is going to become the base. So 1.5 mil, okay? Right, that can go to the side. Now I need my scoreboard and I need a score tool, which I've got. I'm just going to let you see that I've got that much difference. Like it's not very much at all, but that's the difference that you need. So the small one's the base and the bigger one's the top. So I'm going to get my embossing tool. Right, now this is important to get the right size because first of all, this isn't going to sit in the groove. I can feel the grooves, but it isn't going to sit in there properly. The second thing is one like this. Now this is going to actually fill the groove. Let me show you what I mean. So if I do it on this piece here, so, and I come here, you can see that's filled the whole of the groove. If I do it with a smaller one, it's smaller. And actually, I'm just pushing against the groove, and you can see how it's easy for it to slip out. So if I keep it down low, I can keep it right down there, and I want you to see how different those 2 score lines are. Now, when I turn it over on the other side, we've only got 1.5 millimeters of tolerance. So if I score it on that big line there, the fold might go slightly to this side of the score line or to that side of the score line. And what that means is it could move by a fraction of a millimetre. If we are, now in card making, it's not critical, but if we were doing something where it was size and having it exactly the right size was super duper critical, then that isn't going to work. So what I'm doing now is I'm using a size that's in the middle. So it won't let me slip out, but it also won't let me have too much of a flex when I come to do my work. So what I've got now is, and the reason that I've done this, I've scored straight down, all the way down to that point, and I've scored from there to there, and I've scored from there to there, and I've scored from there all the way to the edge of the card. Now when you see when I cut, I'm going to cut, and I'm going to cut on the score line up to that edge. I'm going to cut on the score line up to that edge. I'm going to cut on the score line up to that edge, and I'm going to cut on the score line up to that edge. And naturally what we do is we fold that over like this, and we tuck this round like that. But to make sure that this works really, really well, I come back in here and I take an absolute smidge off there so that when that's completely flat, it doesn't touch. And it's a good little tip because it means that your base, and I only do this on the base, but it means that the base is always that, I know we've accounted for it with our measurements, but it also means that it's that extra tiny little bit of a security blanket, making sure that it perfectly fits every time. I'm going to use my tape pen for an instant bond, and then I'm going to use my wet glue for a permanent bond. So the tape pen allows me to work quickly, but the wet glue will allow me to make sure that it doesn't possibly come undone, but it means I don't have to hold it. So my wet glue is going to go in that corner there, and a little bit down the middle. And while I've got it, I'm going to go corner, corner, down the middle. Corner, corner, down the middle. Corner, corner, down the middle. And then let's get my tape pen and make sure I'm just missing that glue. It's giving me just enough to, there we go. Right, so round, score, press and hold, score, round, press and hold. Just making sure, whoops, didn't get a good hold on that. Press and hold, spot the immediate problem that I've got. I've stuck the glue on the inside, not the outside. Actually, I'm not going to worry about that. Should have turned this over, but you wouldn't have actually seen where I was gluing. And I'll explain to you what I mean in just a second. I'm just going to get this last bottom corner in. Right, so there's my box. Just need this one to hold for a second. Right, so now what you've got is, I've got my snowmen coming around the edges, so you can see that seam there. If I put the glue on the outside on the pattern, which is really where you should be putting it, you wouldn't have seen where I was putting it. So when you do this at home, please put 2 blobs of glue there and your tape in the middle. And that way you're going to have it really neat, because you won't see, in fact, let me see if I can get one of them undone. No, we'll do the lid like that. That's how good it is. Look, that's perfect. That's actually already really stable. So now we're going to do the lid, and I'm going to do the same thing. So what did I do? There we go. So go down an inch, stop an inch short, go down an inch, stop at that score line, go down an inch, stop at the score line, go down an inch and stop at the score line. Now some people would have you score all the way to the end, but the reason that I don't is because although it creates a corner, I find that you get, and you'll see it when I stick it the other way, you get a much nicer point when you do it like this. Now, the other thing that I want to do is, I remember that little trick I showed you where you can score inside. So let's see where I'm going to go there. Where am I there? So I can score inside, I can hold it and spin it, although I'm too far in on this to spin. Let me find an edge. Get you straight. So go in, I stop, spin my card, oops, and slide it back up. I'm making a bit of a dog's dinner of this. It's easier on smaller pieces, to be fair, or when you've not got all the other stuff all over your craft room and your desk. There we go. So I've just put a nice score line inside, and it just gives me a little bit of extra detail. So now I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to trim here. I'm not going to do the little V's because I only do that on the base to make sure that that base stays in. The other thing you might want to do is, if you're cutting lots of these and making lots of boxes, the other thing that I do is I actually pre-score it like I'm doing here, and I mark which is the base and which is the lid, because there's nothing worse than cutting the V's in the wrong one. Right, so now I've got my box, I've got my score line inside so it looks nice. The next thing I'm going to do is I need to tuck in the sides to make that look nice and tight. So it means I need the glue on the outside edge, but it's harder for you to see it. So I'm just going to put it on here like this, and then it's my glue stick, a bit of wet glue. There. Which is, see, it's actually quite hard to see where you're going when it's patterned, but that's the lighting here is not amazing, so I'm just going to do a little bit there. And so we come round and just fold that, and now look at that corner, it's absolutely brilliant. It's a perfect corner and it's so neat and tidy. Right, this one tucks in again and goes round. And again, you squeeze it when you've finished. Round, really nice and neat and tidy. Round. One last one. Round. Such a nice box, perfect corners. Now that goes on top of it. Should be quite a snug fit, because remember we've only got 1.5 millimeters. Get you in there. Oops. It's quite dry. Box. Okay. Now if you've got little circles, you take little circles and you cut little semicircles out of your piece of card, because that then gives you the little pieces to be able to lift it off. But I'm going to decorate the top of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my snowman toppers. So I'm going to take this topper that I've got here, but I'm going to cut it down. So I'm going to take my piece of white cardstock, move that pot of glue that I'm probably going to make a bit of a mess with, and let's do a little bit of trimming. And again, I'm going to want a white border with it, so I've got to make sure I don't chop his bobble hat off. There. And just checking the border on the white is going to be there. And then I'm going to just take these curves off the base. So I'm going to take that off, I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to take that off. Now, when he goes on there, you'll see how I've got a really nice little topper. And actually, I'm just going to trim a little bit of white off here. And he is going to go like this, on there. And then, make sure you're straight. That's a bit wonky. Press it down properly so I can move it a little bit. And with expression, is it my straight or your straight? Does it bug you? That's why, actually, do you know, because I've got a thing about straight lines. I think that's why I like everything a mess, because then I don't have to keep tidying things up and making it perfect. That's a brilliant excuse. Right. There we go. I love Christmas box. So what a nice way of making and using your backing papers, just making quick little Christmas boxes. That's that one. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is, I wanted to show you how to make a pop-up box without having loads of dies or templates or doing any measuring. So I'm going to cheat because I've only got a small scoreboard, so I'm going to make my piece of cardstock a little bit shorter. So I'm going to make it 7 inches long, wide, So it's 7 inches by A4. I know you guys, I asked you before, didn't I, about inches and centimetres. I must remember to check the centimetre things for you. So it's 7 inches, and that is, it's 17.5 centimetres. Right, so I'm going to score, so first of all, I'm going to score half an inch or a centimetre in. Okay, that's the first panel that I need. I'm then going to fold my piece of card in half, lengthways, like this. Okay, that's the next bit. Then I'm going to fold it in half, but I'm only going to take this line up to that score line. Okay, and I'm going to fold that in half, like that. And then I'm going to take this panel and I'm going to fold it in half again, which is, and I'm just checking I've got absolutely, it's in half, and it's going to go there, like that. And then I'm going to fold it, I need half of this distance, and the easiest way of doing it is to take this panel up, mark it like that, take your score tool, score it down, because we've got an edge there, so if I folded that over it wouldn't give me my halfway point, and that's in half there. So I've now got my square, that's my square, and this panel goes in like this. Now we're going to trim down the score line that we've got to the halfway point and cut a tiny little V to that point. Okay, so we've taken out that piece. And that, now you open it up and you cut in one line. Now you can do it on your crop, your caterpillar, or if you've got a large enough pair of scissors, it's one snip. So down the middle of the score line, one snip, down the middle of the score line, one snip. So now I fold these down like this, here. Now I get some of my wet glue, and where's my little glue stick on? It's here. And I glue like this. Put you in there. I then bring this over and I close it up like that. And now I've created my little box. Okay, now we're ready to decorate it. But before we decorate it, I need to put some strips inside because I want to do an exploding box. I want to have things coming out of it. So I've got, this is, let's see, I need it the width of my box. So let's mark where that width is, there. Actually, I'm telling you wrong. I need it half that, but I need that width because I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the bits. So I'm just cutting it, and I'm just going to cut myself some strips. So that's 1, 2 strips will be enough. And then what I do with this, take it and I wrap it around here. Take the other one and you wrap it again around there. Make sure you wrap it tight. So you've got 2 of these. One goes that way, one side goes that way, and one side goes that way. So you're creating a little zigzag. One side goes that way, one side goes that way. We've created a little zigzag. Then you put your glue on both your zigzags. So that side and that side. Then it goes in, you put one side, one side like that you can see, And then I'm going to then put my other zigzag on the other side. Now, on this one, he's not gone on perfectly straight, but that's absolutely fine, because when I stick all the different pieces on, I don't want them all looking like they're in a line. Remember the dimension that we've been talking about and the perspective? That's what we're creating, dimension and perspective. So on this side, my glue, and on this side, my glue. So I'm going to do the same thing again. So this time, this one is going to go on there, and this one is going to go there. In fact, I'm going to do it the other way around, because I want it, no I'm not, I'm going to do it that way, and that way. So I'm going to be able to get some perspective in there. And when my box then closes, I've got, it actually will go flat. Okay, right, so next thing, I've got all these things in here. So I've got decorations, I've got things I'm going to use to actually put across the front of my parcels, of my box. I've got things to have so that they're sitting up here. I've got designs so I can put them like this. And all I need to do for them is to put them on little pieces of acetate. But before I do that, I'm going to go into my set of these. I'm going to take out my toppers, because I've got 4 of each. I'm going to guillotine them up, and I'm going to cut them down. So I'm going to cut these down so they are going to fit these panels. And all I need to do is, oops, nearly would have chopped my parcels up, which actually I've just have done. Oops. I'll teach me to try. Whenever I get smart, it goes wrong. Right, here, so look at this, guys. Now look. These are going to sit on here. I don't quite think it's balanced, so I'm going to take a little bit off that top edge. Actually, let me do that. Take a little bit more of that top edge. So we would go all the way round with these parcels. I'm just going to stick the one on the front and do more mats and layers on this. I'm going to do this again tomorrow when I'm on Create and Craft with this in the, I think I'm on in the evening with it. And I want to be able, I'll do it and I'm going to make it up with all the mats and layers ready done for you so you can see. So that's going to finish off that part of it. I'm just going to make sure still goes flat. And then let me look at what I want to put in here. So I'm looking at, do I want, let me show you what I was seeing. This here with my parcels up here and then probably a snowman here, or do I want to put my little deer and then my bigger deer like this? And I think I probably want the deer, but I'm going to need some foliage to go at the back. I think, yeah, the deer and then probably the flowers at the back. So look at this. So deer, deer, deer. Oh, dear, dear. Oh, poor dear. So those two there and then that there. That works. So let me show you how you attach these. So I'm just going to use, I'll use white cardstock so it'll make it look nicer from the back. So we'll take a strip of white, that's strong enough, and I'm going to put that one on there. So I would, if I was doing this to send to somebody, I would cut your die once from Charisma and cut it once from just regular cardstock and double layer it up and sandwich this between the two layers so it looks really neat. So let's get that in place first. That's the first one. Okay. Then this one, I need a strip. I'm going to get the glue, put you on there, put a little bit of glue on that, and let's put that one in there. Like that. Just check it. Yep. Now my flower, which I'm just going to get again. I'm going to do a bit of gluing. God, time goes so fast, doesn't it? Goes. I'll put my glue there. I've got too much glue on this. I'm going to use some of that for this bit. There. And that is actually going to be too long. I could have cut it up, but it would have made my scissors a bit yucky, so I'll strengthen it by folding it in half. And I'm going to put you, just got to decide where this is going to go, sorry. It's going to go there. Whoops. Oh, more, what's that? More speed, less haste or something. I can't remember that expression, but you know the one I mean, don't you? Right, so you see I've got my flower there and I need another one. So let me see what I've got. I need a bit more foliage. I'm going to borrow it off. Where am I going to borrow it from? I'm going to borrow it from this one. So I actually think I'm going to trim away a little bit of the top of this one because it's a bit too high. Trim away there. I'm going to trim away the flower. Right, and then finally this one would go here. So all of the panels would be decorated with our little parcels, so you'd have those all the way round, and then our flower would go to the side like this. And you've created a little pop-up box from the design. But the most important thing to take away from this is how easy it is to make your own boxes and how easy it is to make pop-up cards and how easy it is to learn to paint. So that's what we're going to do in a couple of weeks' time. I'll let you know what the colours are. In the meantime, I just want to tell you, think of some gossip I can tell you. No, I can't say that. I'll tell you what, you're going to have to join me next week to find out what the gossip is. Do you think that's mean? I don't mean to be mean, but I've got to check out in case I've got to check what the rules are about what I'm about to tell you. So if you don't see me next week, it's because I got told off. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next Facebook Live. You are absolute superstars. Stay safe, everybody. And don't forget to get yourself a nice cup of tea.